Chapter 316 to 318. Kakashi woke up, not opening his eyes or giving any visible sign he was awake as his first instinct, cultivated by his ninja experiences, dictated. He explored his surroundings with his senses, only relaxing when he found out there was no threat around. Naruto, who was on Kakashi watching duty, was almost dozing off when he noticed his Jonin instructor slightly stirring, instantly pulling him from his half-asleep state as he energetically jumped towards Kakashi's bed and saw the man's eyes opening. "Kakashi-sensei, you are awake!" he happily exclaimed in his outdoor voice, making Kakashi involuntarily wince as his head throbbed in pain and cursed his luck. If he wasn't fully awake before, he definitely was now, alongside the entire house. "Two," Kakashi rasped, unable to pronounce Naruto's name because of how parched his throat was. Only now his head caught up and realized how shitty his body felt. Kakashi's lone visible eye slightly widened as the events before he fainted came back to him. Don't worry. I will bring you water." Naruto's face brightened before he scrambled out of the room. Kakashi could only helplessly watch his excitable student bounce out of the room with a deadpan gaze. Water would be nice, but knowing what exactly happened to the rest of the team was the priority. He was responsible for them, damn it! Fortunately for Kakashi, he wasn't alone in the room. Naruto's scream awoke Sasuke, who was shooting the door with very irritated looks, judging by his eyes most likely imagining 100 ways he could skin a certain loud annoyance. Sasuke just knew Naruto did that on purpose. The dobe most likely doesn't want to explain the situation, he grumbled, feeling Kakashi's piercing gaze on him. Sasuke let out a long-suffering sigh at his teammates' antics. "We won. Raiga ran away. The rain team was wiped out except the girl. She is being held prisoner in Anko-sensei's room. We are at Tazuna's home." Sasuke described their situation in a droll voice, trying to keep it short and factual. When he got to the part of the rain girl, he noticed Kakashi slightly winced at the fact she was rooming with Anko. Somehow, Sasuke could sympathize. Sasuke looked at Kakashi and saw the unasked question in his eye. "Anko, she patched you up. I was also hurt." He said that in an almost sullen voice. "Watching her heal you was actually amazing. The burnt flesh rejuvenated at a visible rate and the gaping hole in your hip closed. I had no idea Anko-sensei was a medic ninja." Awe seeped through Sasuke's facade. Kakashi grimaced. Of course, Sasuke had no clue. Despite being Tsunade's apprentice, nobody in his right mind would let Anko into the hospital with the aim to cure people. He had no idea how Anko attained her mastery in medical arts, but it definitely was not in Konoha Hospital, which was strange, considering nobody could become a skilled medical ninja just by reading books. They needed experience and hands-on practice. Kakashi couldn't know that Anko had this much-needed practice in the village on the other side, where she was a quite popular medic. Something in the way Kakashi's eye cringed must have given him away, as Sasuke mirthlessly chuckled, "Don't worry. I have watched the whole time she was healing you. She didn't slip any poison or otherwise experimented with your body." The sad part was he couldn't assure himself of that. He indeed watched Kakashi's healing, mostly because he was afraid of what was awaiting him since his turn was next. But once Kakashi was done, Anko zoomed on him, and unfortunately, Kakashi was unconscious, so it was just him and Anko in the room. A very dangerous situation in Sasuke's opinion. He was on the verge of shitting himself the entire time until she finished with his wounds, expecting an excruciating pain to start at any given moment, considering her personality. It was this worry that made Sasuke faint halfway through his treatment. Not that he would ever admit it wasn't due to fatigue, so anything Anko did to him after that, he wouldn't know. "Oh, you believe you would notice, Genin?" Anko's cheerful voice suddenly resounded through the room, making Sasuke flinch and splutter. You are still too overconfident in your Sharingan, Sasuke-chan. Hearing that, Sasuke decided to do the right thing. He threw her a stink eye, huffed, and lied back down into his bed, petulantly turning his back at Anko. Cute. She rolled her eyes before striding towards Kakashi and putting her hand covered in a light green aura on his forehead. She smirked at the older Jonin. Raiga got you good, Hatake. She patronizingly patted his forehead, not raising her palm high enough for the medical jutsu to stop affecting him. Kakashi groaned and wanted to do nothing more than to shake her hand from his forehead, but his body finally started to feel better. In the end, he could only silently bear with the smugness oozing from Anko as she enjoyed treating him like a misbehaving child. He was S-rank, Kakashi croaked out after he finally regained his ability to talk. Got a J-jutsu similar to Turai Kage's Lai lightning armor. That sentence made his throat hurt again, but he knew this might be a very important piece of information. Anko's patronizing smirk fell, easing into a wry and understanding smile. She knew best how hard it was to face S-rank ninja in 1 versus 1. Tsunade's training regime consisted of a lot of battles between her and Anko, basically beating Anko into the half-dead pulp before healing her and repeating the process until Anko got better. Don't worry, I have already sent a report and request for reinforcements to Lady Tsunade. She informed Kakashi, trying to make him feel at ease. Kakashi closed his eye, relaxing into bed. Getting reinforcements was good. There was no telling what Raiga would do, now that he knew Team 7 was capable of handling the Rain Team. Worse yet, what would Gato do? Gato was incredibly wealthy. Hiring ninjas was no problem for him. He didn't do it because most of his criminal activities simply didn't require ninjas. Common thugs were enough. If he suddenly decided to splurge in order to get Tazuna's head, though, Team 7 would be in trouble. Raiga was a problem, but if he was supported by some Jonin-level fighters... I should have discarded the mission the second I understood the client lied, shouldn't I? Kakashi sighed, finally feeling good enough to speak without gasping for air afterward. He inwardly marveled at her medical prowess. Not that he would tell that to her anytime soon. It would just inflate the woman's ego and give him more ammunition to tease him. Meh, I opted for continuing too. Anko carelessly shrugged. Nobody could have known there would be S-rank ninja in the opposition. And that was the truth too. S-rank ninjas were extremely rare. Most ninjas have a goal to become Jonins, not even thinking of becoming an S-rank level threat simply because of how small a number of them existed in the world. Most ninjas never met someone classed as S-rank in their whole lives. Anko reckoned there were not more than 60 of them in the whole elemental nations. Anko abruptly stopped channeling her soothing chakra into Kakashi's body through his forehead, causing him a mild headache. He opened his eye, inquisitively looking at Anko and finding her giving him a sheepish and apologetic look. Naruto is coming. I am in no mood to take on his exuberance this early in the morning. Sorry, Kakashi. It's time for you to act like a good team leader and sacrifice yourself for the team. With that, Anko poofed into smoke, revealing she was just a shadow clone, the original no doubt sleeping. And here I thought she cared. Kakashi's stomach sank as the door flew open. Naruto triumphantly bounced through them with an excited expression. Kakashi somehow knew this was his revenge for all the D ranks. Kakashi-sensei! Here! Water! Naruto hurried towards Kakashi. He was almost near the bed when he suddenly tripped, splashing the water all over Kakashi's face. Naruto lowered his head, hiding his grin before he looked towards Kakashi, his face a perfect picture of sheepish regret. Kakashi knew who to blame for his not-so-cute little orange genin's sadistic streak and taste in revenge. His mind again strayed to the woman who left him to his fate in his bleariest hour of need, and his mood soured. That bitch. Some very hard hours with Naruto were upon the poor Kakashi, who couldn't even move. In the morning, Team 7 gathered around the table in the kitchen, while Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter, busied herself with preparing food. Anko was mildly surprised. She sent a few shadow clones to survey the surroundings and saw how poor the people in the area were. She didn't expect to be served normal food in Tazuna's home. She briefly wondered where Tsunami got the ingredients. Kakashi still looked a bit drained, but that was expected. Healing a hole through his gut so fast must have taken a toll on his body. But Anko would rather him suffer for the next day and be ready to fight afterward than give him prolonged and comfortable medical care. "So, what are we going to do?" Naruto asked, waiting for food. The man was giving Naruto a subtle stink eye while the whiskered boy was grinning like a loon. Must have enacted his revenge for all the physical drills, Anko thought with pride swelling in her chest. Kakashi suddenly eye-smiled, unnerving his three young charges at the sudden flip of his mood. "Why? We are going to train, of course." Hearing that, Anko couldn't help but give Kakashi a deadpan look. She wasn't very satisfied with how Kakashi was leading the team. Teamwork drills and physical exercises were important, but not that important. Individual combat capability was what really mattered, no matter whether Konoha focused on teamwork. 3 weaklings working together would not be able to beat one strong ninja, no matter how good their teamwork was. If Anko didn't train Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata during their free time, they would have been hopeless and useless right about now. 3 months being a team, and Kakashi didn't even try teaching them tree walking yet. Anko knew that Asuma, for example, went straight for water walking in the 2nd week of his tutelage. Sure, Kakashi was their Jonin instructor, not their mother. It was expected of the Genins that they will train by themselves, but Kakashi should still have asked and tried to help in this regard. The man, however, was too used to teaching ANBU. "Oh? You are finally going to stop being a dick and start doing your job?" Anko sweetly asked, making Kakashi slightly flinch. "Now? When their lives are already on the line?" They had a deal when the team training started. Kakashi didn't want Anko to interfere with his tutelage, and she reluctantly obeyed. After all, she was just an assistant while he was the team leader. She could possibly beat him every time he decided he wouldn't let her have her way, so she took the wait-and-see approach. And boy, wasn't she impressed. "That's harsh, Anko-chan," Kakashi replied in a shaken tone. "I was focusing on teamwork and you are an inept idiot who is too prideful to admit your shortcomings as a teacher." Anko rolled her eyes, giving him a harsh tongue-lashing. "Our team is not ANBU, who are already competent ninja, needing just the final polishing and can visit various secret libraries of Konoha anytime they want and learn whatever they want. They are amateurs who just started out." Anko had to suppress her smirk at Naruto's pout, Sasuke's scowl, and Hinata's lowering of her head. Her students were not exactly weak. They could fight against Chunins, but they had no real-life experience, hence amateurs. Not that the trio would dispute her claim. She long ago beat defiance out of them. And physical exercises are good and all, but they are still children. Unless they work out 24/7 every day, their bodies simply won't match the capabilities of an adult ninja. That's why you are supposed to teach them chakra control first, so they can somewhat level the playing field by enhancing their bodies with chakra. Anko flatly finished. "Well, then I guess it's a good thing I intend to teach them water walking, no?" Kakashi flippantly replied. He was secretly quite ashamed now that Anko told him to his face his faults. In ANBU, he was one of the best instructors, but... "She is right," he sighed. "These kids are not ANBU recruits who already have years of active duty behind themselves. Maybe I was blinded by their competence?" "We already know that," Sasuke grumbled, unimpressed at Kakashi's attitude. Honestly, if he didn't get tutelage from Anko, who didn't even have to teach them anything since it wasn't technically her job, he would probably contemplate defection right about now. What?" Kakashi slowly blinked. He knew the kids already mastered tree walking. They regularly used it during spars, and their 3D maneuvering was something even Kakashi had to praise. We already know that. Anko taught us when we were still in the academy. Naruto poutingly whined and averted his gaze, slouching a bit more in his seat in a show of petty protest. Why didn't you tell me? Kakashi furrowed his eyebrows at Anko. I wanted to see how long would it take you to finally take interest in your Genin's capabilities and act as a responsible instructor. She casually shrugged. You practically demanded I didn't interfere in your teaching methods, so I wanted to see them for myself. Kakashi let out an awkward laugh at the pointed look of his assistant teacher. It wasn't that Kakashi didn't teach the kids anything useful. He did. He gave them plenty of useful information and advice during the D ranks and team training. One just had to look a bit deeper into the meaning of his bored, lazy drawl in between the giggling induced by reading his smut while answering the questions of his Genin. Again, the problem was the man expected the Genin to act like veteran ninjas wanting to join ANBU. The team drills were incredibly useful. Anko couldn't dispute that. They had to be done and showed the three Munchkins their individual weaknesses and faults when fighting as one unit. Some of the things Kakashi taught them during these team drills was straight-out ANBU material. The problem was, Kakashi was too focused on it as if he was training skilled ANBU recruits to make a proper team out of them. Slumping his shoulders, Kakashi let out a long-suffering sigh, lamenting why he couldn't just stay in the comfort of the ANBU division. Fine, he said almost whinily. Is there anything I can help them with? He asked, inwardly complaining that Anko was taking all the fun from being a teacher from him. Anko chuckled and leaned forward, patting Kakashi's head as if he was a kid. Good boy, she cheerily praised, making Kakashi even more annoyed. I am not too versatile with ninjutsu, and you are the guy who is said to have copied thousands of techniques, Anko stated, and Kakashi instantly understood even before she continued. Both Hinata and Sasuke's main nature is lightning, and I don't have even one lightning jutsu. Naruto is wind-natured, so that is a huge problem as well. I started them on the leaf exercise for their natures, but that was as far as I went in their elemental training. As you most likely already saw during spars, they know some useful earth and fire techniques, but I am sure you will know a whole lot more of these than me, and can probably give them sound advice on how to improve in this regard, Anko listed, straightening one finger on her hand every time she made each point. There is a lot you can help them with. If you are finally done moping around, just pick one thing and start teaching. Okay. I will think about it during breakfast. Kakashi relented, returning to his book while he could. Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata threw Anko a grateful look. They were weary of not improving at the fast pace as before since they became Genins. Anko also told them she could not teach them as much as before since that was Kakashi's privilege now. For 3 months, their rate of progress slowed to almost a halt, and every single one of them hated it. Anko smirked in return. She knew their feelings, but this was necessary. The kiddies were far too advanced for their age and had everything handed to them on a silver platter by her. They needed to experience what it was like for other Genins, for those who didn't have a teacher hell-bent on making them strong. She would rather slow their progress for a few months and then make their lives hell on earth to catch up than make them grow arrogant and think they will always get what they want. Kakashi showed to be a bit disinterested in their personal prowess, so the kids naturally went back to Anko, asking for more spanking. She had to deal with a lot of whining, complaints, and dissatisfaction when she refused to advance their training. Anko was pleasantly surprised, though. The kids got the message. Hinata focused more on her gentle fist and started studying from her clan libraries. Naruto used his shadow clones to improve his somewhat passable but still nothing extra chakra control. And Sasuke finally started to improve his skills with genjutsu, now that there was no juicy ninjutsu or taijutsu lesson just waiting to be delivered for the great last Uchiha. Sometimes I feel as if I was babysitting kids rather than training killers. Anko sighed, her cheek twitching as Kakashi again started to perversely giggle, his nose buried in his book. "The breakfast is ready." Tsunami suddenly interrupted the impromptu team meeting as she carried a pot onto the table. 4 days passed and Team 7 gathered again around the kitchen table in Tazuna's house, eating dinner alongside Tazuna's family. Anko enjoyed these past few days a lot. Now that Kakashi took his teaching duty seriously, she had nothing to do for most of the day, so it was her who accompanied Tazuna to the bridge. She also confiscated a certain book from the copycat to make sure he won't be distracted during training. I have to admit, Icha is not half bad. Anko inwardly snickered. Frankly, all members of Team 7 except Anko looked like crap. Even Naruto was swaying in his seat, his eyelids drooping from time to time. Kakashi certainly didn't pull his punches during the training, but Anko suspected that it was more from the build-up frustration rather than wanting to make the brats stronger. She knew best how hard it was to deal with them. Teaching Naruto, even when he was serious, was nerve-wracking. The boy was the type that learned by doing, and trying to explain something to him with words was simply pointless. Unfortunately for Kakashi, Naruto was still pissed that he didn't learn anything for 3 months straight, so he decided to step up his excitement and made the training literal hell of exuberance for Kakashi. No wonder the Jonin was dead tired on his feet, and that didn't even take into account the other 2 of his students. Sasuke was moody and liked to hold his grudges. He would not interrupt Kakashi mid-explanation with inane questions like Naruto, bouncing up and down with an innocent look and a wide, stupid grin. No. He rather liked to take a different approach. Anko's eyes flickered towards Kakashi, letting out a small snicker at his singed clothes with various burn marks. He was a mess, and his lone visible eye conveyed profound exhaustion. While Naruto and Hinata got shadow clones, the real Kakashi focused on Sasuke. It wasn't because of favoritism or anything like that. It was simply because Sasuke liked to bathe the shadow clones in fireballs, so sending them was counterproductive. I taught him so well. He can already perform techniques fast enough to clip Kakashi with his fire release. She thought proudly before her eyes landed on the brooding Uchiha, causing her to snort. I will have to give him another brutal behavior correcting training session when we get back to Konoha. No student of mine would be brooding emo. Anko did watch all of these training sessions with shadow clones. Sasuke's drive was clearly to barbecue Kakashi alive, and the brat was putting extreme determination into it. Anko might or might not have provided some more advanced tips for fire release, so the play of Burn Kakashi would get a bit more interesting. Needless to say, seeing Kakashi desperately dodging small balls of searing flames with a disturbed look was always fun, especially since he couldn't really retaliate and had to take it. The funniest of the lot was by far Hinata, though. She was quite vindictive and decided to give Kakashi the stuttering treatment. And Sage, was it irritating to teach her anything when it took her 5 minutes to just ask a simple question? Anko remembered her own early experiences with the Hyuga heiress. Kakashi's patience was put under an extremely straining test. He had to repeat any explanations at least 3 times. Every time Hinata asked a question, she made sure she stuttered in the exact right places to ensure Kakashi wouldn't clearly hear her, so he had to ask her to repeat the question. Teaching Hinata in this mode was a long, frustrating, headache-inducing process, especially since the girl took to her lessons under Anko like a fish to water. While it was a shadow clone that was annoyed by Hinata's behavior, when it popped and gave Kakashi the memory feedback, it made him instantly weary and frustrated out of nowhere. It was the sort of emotional bullying one would expect from Anko's apprentice. The only reason why he didn't find it suspicious was that he never really paid much attention to Hinata. He left her in Anko's care while he focused more on Sasuke and Naruto. That galled both Anko and Hinata, but it was better that way anyway. Nobody spoke during the dinner. The civilians kept to themselves, seeing how tired the ninjas were, and the majority of the ninjas were too annoyed or tired to say anything. As such, the awkward silence was maintained until suddenly 3 knocks resounded from the door, and everybody instantly tensed. "I assume you don't expect guests this late in the evening, Tazuna-san?" Kakashi quietly asked in a laid-back tone. The bridge builder just frantically shook his head. Kakashi was about to give orders, but Anko decided to give her team a break. "Relax. It is the reinforcements Lady Tsunade arranged." "And how would you know?" Kakashi raised an eyebrow at that. He had the house surrounded by his shadow clones keeping watch, yet the people near the door slipped right past them without being noticed. He didn't really think anybody in Konoha would be able to get past him like this. "The same way as you are keeping the perimeter watch," Anko casually remarked. "While I guarded Tazuna, I also made a few shadow clones to scout ahead. One of my clones met them earlier today. They were quite suspicious, so the clone decided to confront them to find out if they were hired by Gato and would attack me or not. Such suicidal tasks were best for shadow clones after all. And you didn't deem it important to tell me?" Exasperation seeped into Kakashi's voice. "You were busy, and I am telling you now." Anko nonchalantly shrugged. Honestly, she might have been taking out her own frustration on the man at this point. Scouting ahead the entire 4 days and getting no real result was quite maddening. Anko tried to find the hideout of Gato and Raiga. Unfortunately, she had no success. She couldn't create an army of clones like Naruto, so her means were limited, and despite everything, the Land of Waves was a country. It was impossible for one person to scout even 1/10 of it in 4 days. Before Kakashi could give some snarky reply to Anko's easygoing excuse, one of Anko's shadow clones led inside 2 people wearing Kiri Hitai At. "This is Zabuza Momochi and his apprentice, Haku Yuki." The clone introduced them before gesturing towards Team 7. "The civilians are Tazuna the bridge builder, his daughter Tsunami, and her son. I have no clue what his name is, nor do I care. The gloomy broody is Sasuke Uchiha. The blushing mess is Hinata Hyuga. The brat who is half asleep and leaning on Hinata is Naruto Uzumaki. The annoyed creep is too famous for you to not know him, and I am your awesome guide, Anko Mitarashi," the clone exclaimed with a thumbs up. "The rest is up to you, original." With that, the clone popped out of existence, making the real Anko chuckle while the people in the room felt very awkward. "Kiri?" Kakashi eventually asked, suspiciously eyeing the 2 newcomers. As much as he wanted to trust Anko's words, he wouldn't just accept them at face value. "Yeah," Anko dismissively waved her hand. "Raiga is Kirigakure's missing ninja, so Lady Tsunade reached towards her friend Lady Mizukage, and the result is this creep being present." She pointed at Zabuza, who was getting seated behind the table, and threw her unamused look. Anko just ignored it. "Don't worry, Kakashi. I am sure you will get along smashingly. You aren't all that different. Both of you are ashamed of your faces and are tsunderes." She tried to reassure them, but for some reason, it only earned her 2 heated glares. Anko wondered why.